The fight for automatic promotion just gets crazier week to week, with seemingly no one willing to run away with it. Here's my roundup of round 25 of the Championship. Starting off with a big one, East Lancashire derby, and the bragging rights go to the Clarets. Burnley go to Ewood Park and come away 1-0 victors. And this was vintage Burnley, really. Low chance creating game for them, low XG, didn't bang down the door or create more opportunities than the opposition. But as they do, they get a goal, they manage the game, they see it out, they keep a clean sheet. And that's exactly what they did here. Zion Fleming on the hour put them 1-0 up, and that was as good as it got. Blackburn, albeit they had 10 shots in the game and a higher XG, not a single shot on target, which tells you all about how good Burnley are defensively. But only is this a big game for just bragging rights, but it's a big game between the two sides, of course. Blackburn had some big opportunities that they kind of fumbled, and it now means they've lost 3 and 5, although at home to Burnley, a team in the top 3. Very difficult game, of course, but Blackburn's winning run feels like a long time ago now, and they need to make sure they don't let this derby defeat hurt them too much, and they've got to get back on it quickly. But it's a huge win for Burnley. You know, they'd had back-to-back blanks, so even though it's just the one goal here, it's a very Burnley-esque victory, and winning against your local rivals is possibly the biggest boost you could get when you are in a automatic promotion race as fierce as this one. They're now unbeaten in 13, Burnley, and this could be the sort of result that propels them forward in their hunt to get back to the Premier League. Stoke 0, Plymouth 0. Not much to say about this game, although Stoke will be incredibly disappointed not to win it. I think it's very typical of Stoke that they, after having a decent result last time out, Ryan Shawcross did very, very well coming in. Obviously, they beat Sunderland and got a really good point against Burnley. This was the perfect chance to capitalise, pick up another 3 points by beating the worst team on the road in the Championship. But despite all the chances they created, their dominance with possession, they were unable to get the winning goal, which is a real missed opportunity for Stoke. Back-to-back 0-0s, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, really. They've kept clean sheets of late, 3 in a row, but can't score now, so it's all about getting the balance right. As for Plymouth, I mean, again, they were completely dominated. An XG of 0.08, only 2 shots and 1 on target in the whole game, and they were from miles out the box. So once again, they were barely competitive at all on the road, but I guess they'll take it. It's only their 3rd point on the road in 14 games, so albeit it's a huge result, I guess, for them on the road, performance still looked absolutely miles off it. Swansea 1, West Brom 1, 2 huge points dropped for West Brom in the playoff race, and as a Boro fan, when I saw this result come in, I licked my lips, if I'm going to be brutally honest. I mean, we didn't take advantage of it, and I'll get to that later, but West Brom, in a game where they looked like they were the slightly better side, they created the better of the opportunities, they lost it at the death with a 92nd minute equaliser from Joe Allen with a header, which I find absolutely crazy. It's a huge equaliser for Swansea, a great point in a game where it looked like they were going to get beat against a West Brom team who were doing okay at the moment. They're a little bit up, a little bit down. Despite this feeling like a huge 2 points drop for them, they have lost only 1 in 5 now, West Brom. So I do feel like they are starting to get going once again. Depends on how they can bounce back from this really late setback. Bristol City 1, Derby 0. Another good result for Bristol City. It was an even-ish game here. Both sides sort of matched each other up with the number of shots they had, albeit the quality of chances that Bristol City created were the far better. And it's starting to turn into a pretty exciting time at Bristol City. I'm not getting too carried away because they are a streaky side, and as quickly as they can put in a run of wins, they can follow that with a run of defeats. But Bristol City have well and truly inserted themselves into the playoff mix. And let's be honest, due to the inconsistency of all the playoff chasers, it only takes a small run and you're right in there. And Bristol City now are 3 wins in 4. And what I didn't realise is they're really good at home. They're 7th in the home league table as well, which is a really nice weapon to have in your armoury in the league. So a good 1-0 win for them. Good clean sheet as well. Derby feel like are quietly dropping off. I mean, they've lost 6 from 10 now, and I think they've only won 1 in that time. They're not dropping off at an alarming rate, but I do feel like they are slowly sliding down to potential trouble if they're not careful. I still think they'll be absolutely fine with their home form, but not too concerned yet, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Hull 3, Leeds 3. My word, look away if you're Islan Meslier right now, because, I mean, this Leeds side are near perfect. They're pretty much the best in the league in all departments, but their goalkeeper, wow, he let them down here with some absolutely shocking decisions. And, Leeds did so well. They got themselves back into it, having gone behind early, 3-1 up, 15 minutes to go. You put your mortgage on a team as good as Leeds to manage the game and see it out. And then carnage. I don't know what Meslier was doing for Hull's second goal. An absolute gift to let them back in the game with 10 minutes to go. And Kamara goes and finishes well in the 89th minute to make it 3-3. And it's a really damaging draw, this, for Leeds. In back-to-back games now, they've dropped points in stoppage time. They did it against Blackburn. They've done it again here. It's not the sort of habit you want to be having at the top of the Championship, and it can just bring in that little bit of anxiety towards the end of games if you've not really done well recently to manage them and hold on to a victory, the sort of thing that could potentially play on the mind. It could make the fans anxious. We're certainly getting that at Boro at the minute with our inability to see out games. So Leeds need to make sure this is a blip and doesn't become a habit, because it's 2 huge points dropped in 2 games. And had they beaten Blackburn and beaten Hull, they'd have been miles clear at the top of the Championship. And they've kind of done it at the worst time when Sheffield United and Burnley were dropping points. I know exactly how they feel. We've been doing exactly the same thing, just a little bit further down the league in the playoff fight. So I can understand Leeds' frustrations massively. They're still top of the league, but yeah, they can't be continuing to let Leeds slip like this. It's a good point for Hull. Still think they'll be fine under Ruben Sellés. Nothing much else to add. Boro 1, Cardiff 1, and talking of teams who simply cannot see games out and give stupid points away, Middlesbrough Football Club, ladies and gentlemen, once again at home at the Riverside. In a game we should win, we put ourselves in the perfect position and then find a way to give it up only 9 minutes later, and Cardiff come and got away with a very, very good point, and they basically set up in the way that a lot of teams have done at the Riverside, and it's the way to set up against Boro away from home, and it's a puzzle we cannot solve. The low block, putting 10 men behind the ball. Carrick's Boro have not been able to unlock that and pick that lock for 18 months now, and it's proven to be our Achilles heel once again, and this result only adds to the number of games this season that we'll look at, I'm sure, at the end of the season as a game we should have won, 2 points we should have dropped, and it just adds to the frustration. And we're still 5th, and that's great, and it's a positive, but I think it's a reflection on how inconsistent and poor the league is this season, with all the playoff teams being so up and so down. Boro could quite easily be so much more comfortably in the playoffs than what we are, but we are making life frustratingly difficult for ourselves given the players that we have. But it's a great point for Cardiff. They came to the Riverside, they got their goal, they defended extremely well. Quite honestly, Boro didn't trouble them for most of the second half, and they come away with a very well-deserved point. If they defend like that on the road in most games, improve their home form, there's definitely hope for them. Norwich 2, Coventry 1. Talking of a team throwing it away, my word, 2 stoppage time goals give Norwich the 3 points. What limbs, what scenes at Carrow Road. Up until the 91st minute, Coventry had 3 points in the bag, and then it simply all went wrong. But when you look at the numbers, it's everything that Norwich deserved. The number of chances and shots and big chances they created, their overall XG and possession. It was a game, I think, from the moment Coventry scored, that Norwich dominated. I mean, I'm on FootMob, you're looking at the momentum chart. Second half, it was absolutely one-way traffic, and I sort of heard and I saw online a couple of Norwich fans saying that's what Coventry get for sitting back as much as they did. And I do wonder if this is a bit similar to what happened at Pompey with Coventry. They get themselves in front, but then they can't manage the game. And a bit like what happened at Pompey, they just got dominated second half, and eventually they paid the price. And it's something Lampard's going to have to sort out at Coventry, when they're away from home or even at home. and they take the lead, they've got to ensure they manage the game well, but they don't just allow the opposition to come at them time and time again, because this is a hugely damaging defeat when they've literally lost 3 points within minutes at the very, very end. So it's a sickener for Coventry, who still just can't quite get going under Lampard. I'm still not sure what the consensus is there, but it's a brilliant win for Norwich, and maybe that's the sort of win that might kickstart a potential playoff push for them down the line. Preston 1, Oxford 1. I think Preston will be disappointed they didn't come away with the victory in this game. They missed some pretty big chances and gave up a really, really poor goal to Oxford when trying to play out from the back. So I think Preston will be by far the more disappointing of the two. Obviously, their home form's been pretty good under Heckingbottom, so this is one that I think they'll look at and think definitely got away, but it's an outstanding point from Oxford once again, and the turnaround under Roundup continues to be absolutely brilliant. They're doing what they did at the start of the season, even in games where they're maybe second best, they're finding a way to come away with something, and in their position, any point matters, and it's now unbeaten in 4, 3 wins out of 4, perfect start for Rowett. That appointment's starting to look like a really, really good one for Oxford, who, if they continue this way, they're going to have no problems. Sheffield Wednesday 2, Millwall 2. Once again, Sheffield Wednesday provide the goods with the entertainment, but they're conceding too many goals. They scored 2 at home here, and you'd think against a Millwall side who were pretty blunt and quite low scorers themselves, that would be enough for Sheffield Wednesday. But no, they're just conceding, 10 in their last 5. It's a crazy record at the back that they need to improve on. And even then, in this game, they were ridiculously clinical. They scored from their only 2 shots on target. They did go behind. They rescued it late on. So I don't know if this is a good point or not for Sheffield Wednesday. It's a game they probably should have won, but they did snatch a draw. So it's a tough one. And you could say the same for Millwall. Would they have took a point before kick-off at Wednesday? Maybe. But again, they were so close to getting all 3 as well. So it's a tough one to judge this one. I'll be interested to hear from both fans in the comments. Watford 1, Sheffield United 2. This is the sort of result that a promotion-winning side gets. Winless in 3, a lot of injuries, going to a place like Watford. It's a tough test of character, and Sheffield United proved that despite recent results, they've still got it in them to find a way to win when it matters most, and that is what the best teams do. That's what the promotion-winning teams do. These are the points that make all the difference at the end of the campaign. They did get pegged back by Watford, but still found a way to take all 3 points, and it just feels like a really significant win at a really tough place for Sheffield United. As for Watford, back-to-back home defeats. Now, I know losing at home to Sheffield United, no shame in that at all, but they've lost 4 in 5 now, so this is maybe the first major bump in the road for Tom Cleverley, and another few results like this, and they will slip away from the top 6. I mean, it won't take much to get back in there, down to the inconsistency of the top 6 teams and the playoff chasers, but it's back-to-back home defeats now for Watford, and I'd be interested to see how they react from the recent results they've had, especially at home. So a disappointing result for them. Definitely a team to keep an eye on. Sunderland 1, Pompey 0. Listen, it's, as I've said, what the top teams do. These are the games that could potentially be a banana skin. These are the games that the top teams ensure they come away with the 3 points, and Sunderland did that. But I wasn't surprised. This wasn't a game that I thought would be a challenge. Pompey's away run of late has been pretty poor. They've now lost 4 away games in a row, scoring only once. They're seemingly like Jekyll and Hyde when it comes to home and away form, Pompey. So maybe if they keep winning at home, they'll be fine. If they keep losing away, it sounded like a more respectable performance for Pompey, especially losing Pack to a second half red card. But there was never any surprise for me as to who won this game. I think Sunderland will maybe just be disappointed they didn't win it by more. But they got a goal early on. They managed the game well. They got another 3 points at the Stadium of Light, by far the better side. And as I say, one of the big weapons needed, one of the big ticks needed in the checkbox for a promotion chasing team is really, really good home form. And Sunderland have that now, moving to the second best home record in the Championship, only behind Leeds, winning 9 of 13 home games. So even though their away form still can be a bit shaky, if they win most of their home games, they're going to be up there. And they continue to just hang about there with the top three, and all credit to them. QPR 2, Luton 1, and when your luck is out, man, your luck is out. Luton Town lose, you heard this correct, their 10th successive away league game. An absolutely torrid run on the roads that's almost Plymouth levels of bad from a team which that form is simply unacceptable, but in a game that was literally as identical as it gets in terms of the numbers. I mean, the XG is literally identical, which you don't see all that often. Shots to shots on target, a very even game. Both sides missed numerous big chances, and both teams had spells. You know, QPR first half were far better. Luton not good enough again. Luton's response, though, after they equalised with the final kick of the first half, was fantastic. And they were great for large parts of the second half. But the sucker blow came with one of, well, the most unfortunate goals you could ever concede. A shot that was going miles wide, happens to collide a QPR player, and it trickles in past Kaminski, who could do literally nothing about it. And it sums up Luton, you know, who'd done really well up until that point. Should have maybe took the lead, had a really good spell. And you can also argue, after that, QPR somehow should have gone 3 or even 4-0 up. This scoreline could have been anything in the end, but it's typical that Luton, in their current predicament, come out on the wrong side of it now. QPR, though, 5 wins in a row, and I've heard the word playoffs start to get mentioned around QPR. I'm not going to get that carried away just yet. Their turnaround since being bottom in November is absolutely miraculous. So then, finishing with the league table, as always, looking at the top, to which the top 4, well, it's a case of who actually wants it. You know, Sunderland keep looking like they're falling away, then they'll pull themselves back in again. And, you know, across the last 3 or 4 rounds, the top 3 especially have just not been able to string a number of results together. So I'm just really excited to see where the next twist is between the top 4. Burnley host Sunderland next, which is an absolute cracker, isn't it? You've then got the playoff pack, again, a group of teams who seemingly just don't want to consolidate top 6, it seems. Boro are absolutely one of them teams. West Brom as well, with a late sucker blow. Sneak in there. Blackburn are in poor form. And suddenly Watford, who were in there a few weeks ago, have been eaten up by Bristol City, with Sheffield Wednesday only 1 goal behind them. So the playoff chasing pack is incredibly tight. And you've even got Norwich peeking their way back into that as well. Honestly, who really wants playoffs? And who really wants automatic promotion at this point? I really don't know. If you go down to the bottom, though, who wants to go down? Well, nobody, obviously, but look how tight it is. Plymouth 3 points adrift. You've then got Portsmouth, Hull and Cardiff all on the same number of points. I still look at Pompey's games in hand and think they could be absolutely key, but you now have to surely consider Luton Town as serious relegation contenders. I think I've held off on saying it just because of who they are and where they've been, I guess, but teams have gone back-to-back relegations before, and I just cannot quite believe how bad this Luton Town side is. I mean, a little bit of misfortune, but yeah, I find it absolutely crazy how bad they've been defensively, and they're now only 2 points above the bottom 3, and there are teams below them with games in hand. I mean, you know, talk around them unable to pay off Rob Edwards due to the contract he signed in the summer. Loads of talk, but I don't think they'd have ever expected to be in the position that they're in now, and maybe they have to pay him off just to inject some new life into the club, because right now Luton Town are flirting dangerously with what could be a disastrous season if they're not careful. I am really starting to get concerned by that for them. I really, really am, but that's the Championship Roundup for this week. There won't be one in 2 weeks' time, unfortunately. I will predict the next round of Championship games because I am here. I am at home prior to that weekend, but I do travel away for a long weekend, and I will miss the entire round of games. I'll be missing Boro's trip to Pompey. I'll be missing the lot, and I won't get back till the middle of the following week, just in time to see Boro's home game against West Brom. So I won't have time to round up round 26 or predict round 27, or should I say predict round 27? No, round up round 27 and predict the following round because I'm simply not here. So the next championship video you will get from me is predicting the following round, but I won't be rounding it up. And the next roundup will be of round 28, I think, if I've got that right. I might have butchered the lot. But anyway, it'll be a while until the next roundup. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. Do take care. Let me know your thoughts on your team in the comments as always. Like the video to support it. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. But until then, take care and I'll see you all in the next one.